We're back with a question and answer session with BoredGamer and HCVertigo for the Captain's Table here at the AstroPub. Remember, as always, if you missed the last session, it'll be right above Board's head. A little link if you're watching this on YouTube. You click that link and you can go back and watch the context. So we may refer back to some things we've mentioned in the previous session. If there's a question and answer, it's like, oh, well, kind of covered it just because it's a live stream. So we had people who asked questions who came in late and maybe we didn't talk about it. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to join us live, make sure we do this on Saturdays at, I do this on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, with 2 new guests every week. So if you want to ask your questions live on stream, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, come on down. We'll love to have you. And as always, make sure you're checking out BoredGamer, BoredGamer UK on the YouTubes, and HCVertigo, twitch.tv/HCVertigo. So with that being said, let's get.
And if you're a streamer or content creator and you want to join us, you should ask Paul.
Yeah.
On the AstroPub.
Yeah, it's legitimately, sometimes it's just some months everyone's busy and I need more help. So if you want to come on the Captain's Table, come join us. All right, let's start with the first question, which is from Normandy Revenge, who asks, how is everyone on the table doing today? How you doing, Vertigo?
I'm a little tired. I've been having, like I said, problems with arthritis. Things have been getting a little bit better.
Okay.
So I've just been tossing and turning a lot over the nights. Yeah, but it's getting better. It's just life. Don't get old. Getting old sucks, folks.
Bored, how you doing?
Yeah, right. Tired. Busy. Still going through citizencon stuff to work out what's going on with videos. So, and I'm away next weekend, so I'm sort of trying to catch up on work. Other than that, pretty good. Thanks for asking.
That's good. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm trying to hope it's not gout. Because I don't have gout, but it's a small, it's not even a pain, it's just a small annoyance when I like lay down for like when I wake up, I like my right foot it stings a little bit when I walk, but after a couple of minutes of me walking around, it like comes back. It's not like a fall asleep thing, it's just like a tiny pain. And it's only happened since the 24-hour live stream. So I'm hoping it's just a weird body reaction from the 24-hour live stream. And it's gotten almost imperceptible. Like after I get out of bed, after like 3 seconds of walking around, it's fine, and I barely recognize it. But every time I sit down for a long period of time, is what happens. So, all right. Well, thank you for that question there, Normandy. Next question comes from Velocity Raptor. This is a good question. I'll start with you on this one, Board. Is there ever a time where your hype for a game dips low and you get frustrated with development? And if so, how do you get back into the hype? Alternatively, do you ever get overhyped? And how do you come back to realistic expectations for the project?
So it's a constant stream of hype and disappointment and being over-expecting and then under-expecting. And it comes literally in waves. And it's constant. So you just ride the wave. That's pretty much what Star Citizen is about. Like sometimes you expect something that you're like, actually, this is obviously going to be for the next patch. Oh, and it's been delayed. And okay, that's weird. And sometimes you get stuff a bit more than you expect. And then sometimes you've expected, Squadron 42 since 2016 and it still isn't out. So
yeah. Vertigo, how about you? How do you ever like overhype? Like how do you manage the ebbs and flows of development? And
I mean, a lot of it's just like gritting your teeth and just waking up every day, going to a job. As a content creator with Star Citizen, this is sometimes you just endure. That's just how it is. Just like Atlas, you just got that world on your shoulders and you're just trudging up that hill.
Yeah.
How's that a Sisyphean task?
Yeah, Sisyphus. Yeah, where you just constantly rolling up and it goes down to the other side.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like for Star Citizen. You're constantly rolling that boulder up the hill and it rolls down the other side. And the next morning you got to push the boulder up the hill again. It's there always be hype cycles for Star Citizen. Like that's one of the problems with like a lot of the older veterans content creators with Star Citizen. You've had that hype cycle kind of like almost like heating up and cooling tempered glass too fast. It just causes it to shatter. That's kind of what's happened over the years with a lot of content creators for Star Citizen. You just get hyped up and then let down, and then hyped up, let down, and eventually you just break, and then you just like, you know what, I'm done. And you just walk away and you go do something else. We've seen it with like a few other big names in Star Citizen. But really, just taking breaks helps. Like, show me a Star Citizen content creator. I'll show you a variety streamer. Yeah.
I don't think it's happened so much anymore, but I agree that
Mhm.
there's lots of people who will go, this new game's come out. Like me with Dark Tide. Dark Tide's coming out. Focus on that. New World first came out. Played a lot of it. Enjoyed it. Like that sort of thing. So
I've been playing a cool little fleet strategy game called Nebulous Fleet Command. It's this little indie game made by one guy.
Yeah.
And he's like this, I think he's retired naval officer, and he's just it's like super complicated. It's a Unity game, but there's not crafting or survival or anything like that. It's like torpedoes and missiles and cannons.
Yeah.
And lasers.
You don't have immediate control. Like you pick a location and your ship goes to that location very slowly.
Your ship tries to. It looks like Homeworld with like a worse art style. I hate to say it, but Homeworld had a really good art style. It's hard to fight against that, but like I said, it's a Unity game, so it's pretty simple. It's a multiplayer game right now. I recommend people just look at it, but it's really deep. It's really complex how the systems work. It has physicalized damage, component locational based damage, like shell. If you hit someplace in a shell, if a shell hits a spot in a ship and there's any component behind that spot and the shell penetrates into the ship, it will damage that component. And that component being damaged will affect how the rest of the ship runs. And then you have repair crews that actually run around inside the ship to try to repair stuff. And you can kill those repair crews if they get hit. It's interesting. Like it's worth looking at, but it's like very deep. So unless you like games like Silent Hunter, you may not enjoy just how this game plays. But like I said, I enjoyed it for a little bit. I'm waiting for like more content, another couple patches to come out.
There's going to be a campaign for it at some point too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're adding a second faction, which is similar to like the OPA from like the Expanse. They use like civilian ships.
Yeah. It's basically the Expanse if you slammed Homeworld with World of Tanks. And that kind of like, it's not as arcadey as World of Warships.
No. It's not arcadey at all.
But it's that same kind of concept where you're managing, like you manage your vessel, your vehicle, and the damage locations, and those sort of things matter in penetration. For me, the key for me is always been find something you like when you're doing content and do it well, or focus on it. Like Bored does his news, Vertigo does a lot of testing and a lot of experimentation. I do lore. Like, Bored also does lots of lore. Zin reads a lot of lore stuff, and
she does the lore, not me.
Yeah, she's your editor, right? As well as
yes, that's correct.
So like you find something you really like to do, like Vertigo or not Vertigo, Burks does PvP, and you'll see more like the Info Runners. We do a lot of a deep dive, like speculation and help with Fix My Fleet, those sorts of things. So with creating content for Star Citizen, you just got to find a thing you like to do that's more or less always going to happen and make the content. And sometimes there'll be ebbs and flows, and you just kind of ride those waves. And if you do well enough to build a community, then people will come just to watch the content you make, but no matter how good or bad Star Citizen is at any given moment. And it's just the frustrations, and taking breaks helps as well. All right. Next question comes from Kavion, who asks, thoughts on the levitating trolley / coffin they showed at CitizenCon. Is this how we will load cargo into ships? Yes.
One of the ways. I mean, there's going to be other ways as well with using tracked beams and some other bits, but they're essential.
Trolleys. Yeah.
Those hover trolleys are essential.
That's what I'm expecting. Basically, exactly what they showed off, that technology for the hover. I didn't expect anything different, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just the way you can see it happen. And I think they even talked about things like the actual cargo containers being able to do that too. Some of them be able to let the.
I expect to like load those with like most of those with like the heavy tractor beam or something.
Yeah.
Or having like a little skid or something underneath them to pick them up and move them around.
Yeah, the big ones especially. Yeah. All right. Del Ener asks, what are y'all's plans to break the servers in 3.18? Probably build a fortress of medical gowns that will reach the
drugs. Lots of drugs. Go to those drug outpost missions and try to shove as much of that stuff into a cutlass and then shove it out into like a landing area.
Yeah.
I suppose the quickest and easiest way of doing it was just be repeatedly kill yourself to put gowns down in elevators.
Mhm.
But that's more of a. I try to do that sort of stuff in either Carty, like
Mhm.
when I'm trying to break things. When I'm playing Star Citizen when it's in live, I'm not actively trying to destroy things. You monsters.
Vertigo will tell you the story about the gun that crashes the server that he constantly.
Oh my god,
uh,
thing was so
Fire.
fun.
He's constantly threatened the entire server. You either come and pay me money or give me things, otherwise I will.
That was
crash
back in
the server.
3.0 first release, and you had the ability to pick up guns on the ground. It was an arrowhead. I picked it up, and every time I tried to mess with that arrowhead in my inventory, it would 30k the server. It was pretty funny. Like I'd literally join a server, type, "Hey everybody, I'm back. I'm testing something." Everybody would be like, "No, Vertigo, stop!" People I never knew, like people were like, "I was in this last server, you crashed. Don't do it this time. I'm sorry, guys. We're testing." CIG showed up pretty quickly. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" they showed up in my stream chat.
I'm sure there's an entire file of HCVertigo problems that CIG keeps somewhere. They're just like, these are the list of things. Like, why is HCVertigo 50% of our crash log for any given patch? Blazrad asks, do you think we should be preparing for a wipe in 4.0? 4.0, not 3.18. Yes.
Both?
Yeah. And someone else asks is when is the wipe? 3.18. So I would honestly expect a wipe from 3.18, 4.0, and whenever dynamic server meshing comes in. Just always expect a wipe when you're playing Star Citizen, especially in the next couple of years, just because lots of new things are being added. So what do you think, Vertigo? Do you expect a wipe for 4.0?
I mean, honestly, it's possible. It's always possible. CIG can always wipe whenever they want to, but the problem is, like, you'll have a wipe for 3.18, and then 4.0. I don't think they will. I think CIG will try to wipe as little as possible. It's really obnoxious when it happens. Not for people who play like me, who play way too much, who know life Star Citizen, but especially for the newer players, because I see this a lot of the time when we had a wipe for 3.17, and then we had a wipe when people were talking about having a wipe for 3.18. There was a lot of people who were just playing just a few hours every day or a few hours every week who were just like, "Oh, this is so obnoxious. It's going to take me forever to get that constellation, and they're just going to take it from me." So, I mean, there's people out there who only play like for what's his name? Eris David, who was on with the podcast last time I was on. He only plays for maybe like 2 hours a week, maybe, because he's got a wife, a kid, job. And there's a lot of people out there who like that. They need to have the persistence in order for them to actually grind for something meaningful. And if you constantly wipe every patch every 3 months, they'll never have anything meaningful with that level of commitment. Meanwhile, for me, like, I just, whatever, I'll have a reclaimer by the end of the week. I'll play 24 hours a day. So I hope they don't. I really don't. I really hope they don't wipe for 4.0.
I don't. I'll caveat and say I don't think CIG wants to wipe any more than they have to. But when you deal with anything fundamental, that's just so fundamental to the game, like server meshing and stuff, you just expect things to break, in ways that I didn't realize. So, all right. Next question comes from Kavion, who asks, "Do you think ship naming is working the way CIG wants to, or they rework it and prevent players from having naming ships, inappropriate ships, such as your mom, for example?" How
was your mom inappropriate?
I mean, have you seen what your mom does on the weekends? So inappropriate. I've seen what she does in that club.
BoredGamer, do you think they're going to rework how naming works in Star Citizen?
I mean, it's not working as intended, is it?
Yeah.
Because we'd have ships that we could name other than like 3.
Yeah. So I have to agree with the BoredGamer there. It's like, yeah, of course it's not working. Of course CIG is going to put more effort into the ship naming to make the naming the obviously certain ships are going to have a lot more work done to them for like their names and whatnot, how they display, what kind of font and text.
Anything? I don't think they'll go back from their current system in terms of how the names would work, because if you look at actual ships in reality that people privately own, what they name them all sorts of raunchy, messed up things. And I'm sure CIG will have a filter. I think they already have a filter for like getting names that are inappropriate because they don't.
I haven't seen anything
slapped.
named really bad. Anything like any cuss words, anything like that. I've seen really bad usernames that I've had. There's been a few usernames I have to report over the years, but I haven't seen any ship names that I've had to report.
Yeah. So neither have I. I think really when you're sort of working out what names to get rid of, you basically just go, could it be illegal in someone's country for this to be a name? And then if it is, then remove it. Then because otherwise people are sort of like, well, yeah, your mum. Why not call a ship that? That's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the name of my character. I don't know if you're joking or not, but that's literally the name of my character. Your mom.
I'm sure Kavion knows your name. Your name of your ship is your mom. Kavion's a regular here, and we've made that joke so many times. When you've come on,
everybody, the mission's over. Quick, get on your mom. I mean, the crew requirement for your mom is 6 people, but I'm sure we get at least 20 dudes on your mom. The jokes just kind of write themselves. And of course, I've named my 890 jump These Knots. So you can ride these knots all night long.
It's the fanciest knots. These knots is the fanciest.
Just sophisticated comedy for mature viewers. BoredGamer. That's my specialty.
Perfect. I like it.
Irv Nation asks, does PES
that's an endorsement by BoredGamer. He likes these knots.
It's
I endorse these nuts.
I always like to bring up that very early on, Board came onto one of the captain's tables, and we were talking about this and something, and I was trying to caveat, being like, "Hey, we're not CIG employees," and Board said something to the effect of, "We don't know shit." We don't know anything, and that's ever since then. That has been the tagline. It's like, before you talk about anything that's inaccurate or accurate in this content, just remember, we don't know shit. That is the tagline for the captain's table. We are as blind as anybody else outside of CIG. All right. Irv Nation asks, does PES make sense to have without server meshing though? That sounds like a dangerous game. Bored?
Well, it's a prerequisite for server meshing, and it probably needs separate testing. And I use that because that's what they're doing. That's why I say that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, could you do it all as a single bundle? Maybe, but then, I mean, it is different technology. It's prerequisite for server meshing, so I think it makes sense.
Yeah, Vertigo.
I mean, CIG's told us that they need it. This has to come before this, and I mean, they can always change the rules. It's their technology. If suddenly we don't need persistent energy streaming before server meshing, I mean, I've always said that we could potentially just have 2 choices on the loading menu, pick Pyro, pick Stanton, load into one or the other. I mean, they could have done that, but Chris Roberts, the head of the corporation, has said this is how we're going to do it. So
yeah,
what do I know? I don't know shit.
I don't think Chris Roberts necessarily made that decision in a vacuum either, because he's got a lot of talented people. He pays a lot of money to know what they're doing, to come and say this is what we need, and him to go okay. So yeah, we need PES for other reasons other than server meshing. We need it because that's how you were going to get your gear between just in general, having some way to move information off of the game server so the game server can just focus on the game is critical. And then when you're dealing with server meshing, you need the PES to exist for it. So what happened to iCache? iCache is dead. Yeah, they replace it with PES. That's just all you need to know about that. Kavion asks, what should we expect from PES at 3.18? Are players going to notice huge changes in the game? Vertigo, what do you think?
I think the persistent universe is going to be a lot more messy. We're going to see a lot more trash and junk items, and perhaps wreck sites. I really hope that Starship wrecks stick around. Every time a ship is destroyed, CIG tries to preserve that wreck as best they can, because I think that'll make things a lot more interesting. But I just think we'll just see more trash, more loose items around all over the place. I don't think we'll really notice that much, other than bugs or persistent energy streaming bugs and issues with it. But don't set your expectations lower or reserve your expectations with 318 in terms of what content it brings.
Okay. I'm sorry. So someone actually clarified, some of the person who asked the question. I'm guessing I'm thinking of the issue that could be the cause without everyone dropping off stuff on the ground and stuff appearing on every server, unless I'm not understanding the tech. With PES, when you drop stuff on the ground, it doesn't appear on every server. It only appears in the server you're on. And if you leave that server and you come back to a different server, the stuff you put down is not going to be there anymore. That's if that clarifies it for you there. Board, what do you think? What should we expect from PES at 318? Are players going to notice huge changes to the game?
I think if you're not actively looking for PES, I don't think you're going to notice it. Like, I think there's going to be great works of when you're quantum leaping onto your different servers. If you've seen on Reddit that someone was building a big trash pile somewhere or something, you might go look to see if it's on your server, and if it is, then go add to it, and then take a picture. But I think it's going to be very limited in what it actually does gameplay wise for us in 3.18.
Yeah. I agree with that. I've been saying for a long time, expect 318 to be 317.2 with extra stuff, because it's what it should be. And Noobfire's in the chat, and he says they literally said if PES is working properly, the player will not notice a difference. It's like, yeah, in a perfect world, nothing should be fundamentally different from 317.2 or say 317.3 now, I guess, to 318 if it's working well. You shouldn't notice any differences. Lady Space Patrol asks, what was the last thing we heard about crafting? Is that a 4.0 thing? I want to know when I can bake Totinos for my hungry guys. Last we heard about crafting, it's been a while. I don't think they're planning on doing anything significant with crafting until they have the resource system in and server meshing in. Because
I mean, I think BoredGamer probably would be able to say something on this because he's much more into the weeds than I am about like CIG's posts and whatnot.
Did you heard anything about crafting?
So
recently?
They keep on talking about crafting and lots of little things, and including like the Pioneer being a mobile factory rather than just a base builder sort of thing now, and all that sort of jazz. And we know that like, the Endeavor is going to be able to make drugs, and so there are levels of crafting. But Cloud Imperium constantly don't talk about the in depths of crafting, so we don't know if we're going to be able to make ammo and chips.
I think there was a mention recently of them talking about some of the crystals or something being used for crafting. I vaguely remember them mentioning offhand that certain items you discover in the version, and this is like 6 months ago about on like an Inside Star Citizen or something.
You may well be correct.
I distantly remember where they offhandedly mentioned that, like, oh, this item is going to be used for crafting in the future. That's why we have all this crap lying around. Okay.
We do know that obviously there is the factory nodes system where the dynamic universe takes raw materials or whatever that are moving around and effectively builds them into items that are sold in game. So, and we know that they're building out mining and refining and all that sort of jazz. So I expect to see crafting potentially after they've got salvage a bit more refined. They could go, you know what, we can build this into the dynamic universe, and they can start to talk a bit more about crafting. But
I wouldn't expect anytime soon.
Yeah. Exactly that.
There's so many other factors that go into crafting that we just haven't seen the basics of yet. It's kind of like the Endeavor. You know, the Endeavor is one of those ships where we won't see it until the game has already been released, because it requires so many aspects of the game to be done that just aren't even close to it. So, all right. Next question comes from Stengun, who asks, IAE, do you think CIG will add any new aspects to this year? Like new things to IAE? And what would the panel like to see added someday? Board, what do you think?
I'm not even sure where the IAE is going to be held this year. Like I thought of Orison originally, but then they said they wanted the racetrack for the Grey Cat buggies at the Vision Center. And maybe that means it is going to be there, but maybe it's not. There's a load of stuff they could do for the IAE. I mean, obviously the IAE and Fleet Week stuff, I think there's a big crossover. They can basically do the same things they do for Fleet Week at IAE if they want to. But it is more about the free fly, the expo, and them selling and showing off ships. That's what they want to do. Are there going to be sort of specific events and new stuff and like different large scale ship tours like the Javelin tour for new ships? Maybe. Definitely in the future they'll have a load of new stuff. Are we going to get that for this year? I haven't heard anything. Doesn't mean there's not.
Yeah. It would be anything in the future that you would like to see added to IAE or even Invictus?
I mean, I like the Fleet Week. I like the them showing off the ship stuff. Like, I love the ship rental stuff, especially like the free fly where people just come in and just try out all the ships. I think that's a really good idea. That's a really good marketing opportunity for CIG, I think. I would like them to not release large maypole patches around Fleet Week where they have this gigantic piece of technology they're going to slot in that's probably going to have problems for the free fly. But yeah, I think CIG's got a right idea. I mean, I'm trying to think of what I'd like to see for free fly, and I can't think of anything. Probably like a dynamic event would be nice. You know, something more than just the Bengal flyby. And I think they're going to do something for that. They're actually going to have missions and whatnot for the CDF to do on Fleet Week.
I don't expect anything to be added to new aspects this year, just in general. I think that CIG is so nose down, head to desk, kind of like they're focusing on getting fundamental aspects of the game in. I don't think they'll have enough time to go back or to add stuff to this IAE to make it more unique. I think that's a post 4.0 thing when they improve it. But would I add anything? These are supposed to be conventions, and even at like a car convention, you will see, or car shows, you will see something that's non-car related, things that will be accessories or other similar services, like insurance companies and stuff like that. I'd love to see more of that aspect of that show up. But that requires things like AI to be interactable. Like, honestly, I'd love to see a situation where you have booths like a recruitment booth or like a booth for like a component making company, and you go up and you talk with them and they give you a little brief rundown of what they're planning on doing. Like, these are products. Take a, here I'll give you a digital brochure, and they throw it to your mobile glass and you can walk away. But that requires time and effort, which they don't have right now. And a working AI. So, all right. Next question comes from Harrison Jones, who asks, do you expect some new ship at IAE? If so, what size? Well, there have been some leaks pulled from the code where we know about the Drake Cutter, what was the other one? The Gray Cat, or is it Argo? It's Argo. I forgot what the name of that one was, but it's an Argo vehicle, like ground vehicle. And then there was,
I know the UTV was rumored. Did they show the UTV, the Gray Cat UTV, off at utility vehicle? Off at
citizencon? They said they were going to be making one. They didn't show anything off it
other than the concept image. I think is all they showed.
Did they actually show a concept image?
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought there was an official concept.
It's like if you know the Steve has that big back with the spare tire. They showed an image that was like half of the Steve's back with just a box holding. It looks like a Polaris, the side-by-side off-roader vehicle, the little tiny golf cart that goes off-road. It looks almost exactly like that. I expect, but yeah, basically, if the leaks found those in the files, then I would almost expect those to be there, because CIG does tend to leave some of that stuff in for testing and stuff like that. But the one thing that was rumored was the a variant that they've been talking about for a while for a popular ship, which is a medical Pisces. So like an ambulance Pisces that has just like one bed for hospital purposes. So
okay, well, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean that's based off the leaks. So yeah, I am expecting those, but that all sounds. I don't know any idea what the Drake Cutter is. but based off of the naval terminology, a cutter is like a small yacht that's usually attached to a larger ship. So maybe like a small stub ship or a smaller, like a starter ship. I don't know.
Usually something that stays closer to shore, like a not a blue water boat.
Maybe like a shuttle.
Well, the Reclaimer was supposed to have a cutter, wasn't it, originally?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
supposed
supposed
to
have
have something called the
ship.
cutter.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to have Drake make a ship that is for a Aegis.
I mean, like Kruger Intergalactic made a ship attached to the constellation, Paul.
Yeah, but Kruger and RSI have always had a close working relationship, and that was the first ship that Kruger ever built. But like, very rarely do you see two companies work together like that. You saw with like the what is the version of the Starfarer that's in the military? The
Gemini,
where it's made by Aegis, but you know they kind of have a reason for that. Yeah, we'll see. All right, this is for you, HCVertigo.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Lukum asks, how did you get so salty, and what flavor were you before?
Oh boy, how did I get so? Well, for one, I've always been kind of naturally pickled by video games over the years. So I guess I was just born this way. And what flavor was I before I became salty? I don't know. I've always been salty.
He's always been salty.
Always just naturally salty. There's
the meme, you know, down here, everything is salt. The air is salt, you know. It's just salt.
Just salt.
Qpan asks, Paul, now that you have it, what are you going to name your favorite ship? All right, so this is going to require a little bit of explanation for people who haven't been following this too closely. For those of you who don't know, I hate the Redeemer. I loathe the Redeemer. I hate it. It has nothing to do with its in-game stats or how it performs. I just hate the Redeemer. And CIG, someone suggested last year that someone named Ferrisalt suggested during the 24-hour live stream we did last year that CIG should give me a permanent, unbound, unupgradable, unmeltable, ungiftable,
unvisible,
like just something that will be attached to my account, a redeemer that's attached to my account that I can't do anything with. I can't even touch it.
Boy, I really hate the Javelin. Let me tell you about how much I hate the Javelin.
So CIG threatened to do it, and they finally did it. They did it at CitizenCon. Literally the day of CitizenCon, they did it. So I have a permanent unmeltable, and it's CIG was being cheeky, or I should say Jaden was being cheeky, and it's named Paul's Favorite Ship is the name of the like when in little tags you see like, you know, the game package name or whatever. That's what the package name is, and it's just the ship LTI. So I will probably name it Paul's Favorite Ship if I can, because you know to give that. So kudos on the trolling there, CIG. Kudos on the trolling. There he is. C Daddy is in chat. He's the one who did it. All right. Harrison Jones asks, should Star Citizen have in-game radios like GTA or Cyberpunk? What do you think, Bord?
I mean, I love the idea. I think obviously we had the jukebox a while ago. I think there was some issues that they were trying to work out with. Would we be able to just play our own music from stuff, or would they have their own sort of radio stations? Can we use the render to texture tech and other audio tech to just listen to other people's channels and stuff, or stuff in game? I like the idea of it. I don't know how viable it is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'd like to see that sort of TV shows or video or like radio shows like you'd see in GTA or Cyberpunk or other games like that. The key is more because those two games are single player. They tend to, and they like plot out a story, so like those radio broadcasts and those TV shows change depending on your actions in the game, which is cool. You won't really see that in Star Citizen, and it would require a lot of work to update those things every few months as the game changes. So I could see it being, especially with their new mocap studio they have in-house, I could definitely see them doing it because it wouldn't be nearly as expensive as it would have been in the past. But you're still going to have to pay voice actors and keep them on, especially ones who are constant characters like radio hosts or whatever. You'd have to pay them and keep them on retainer and all that sort of thing, and then or like keep them on contract, and that's a complicated process going forward. So I'd love to see it, but I don't know how CIG logistically could make that work. What do you think, Vertigo? Would you like to see radios and TV shows that you can listen to or watch in the verse?
I mean, I don't know, what kind of like Grand Theft Auto did with like their like little television shows. I don't know. It feels like kind of a waste of time, but it's something that Chris Roberts would do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff Chris Roberts loves to do, is just make movies. And I suppose Chris Roberts could make like a feature film or something to show off inside Star Citizen using Star Citizen assets.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like something he'd do. It just feels like you're just adding 2 years to development of Star Citizen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's something that's would be even in the radar until after you get closer to development. It's just something that there's so many other things that need to be tackled before that. So it's a cool idea, but Outlaw Night Zero asks, we all know about pizza and Big Benny's, but what other foods do you want to be do you want to see added to the game? Food types. I don't know. I think those are the two ones that I really want to see.
Does it matter? More food variety.
Yes, more food
variety.
Cooking. I want
pizza.
There you go. Oh, there we go. I'd actually like to see like meals. Like spaghetti and salad and that sort of things. Actual like meals that you would see.
Bento box. Bam.
Yeah.
Start eating lots of different food.
Yeah. Bam. Yeah, that's cool. I've for those who don't know, I've been memeing about how the game is completely worthless until pizza comes into the game. This is not even worth playing. It's literally unplayable until pizza comes in. We've had pizza shops since 3.0, but it's just never been there. All right. Thargonix asks, just wanted to say hello, BoredGamer. We met in Insomnia with Dan and all. Thomas Prop Artist. It was really nice meeting you.
Yes, it was, we had some drinks. It was a good laugh.
Is a CIG developer or different developer?
CIG developer.
Oh God. Why are you watching CIG? Why are you watching us? That's cool. Good to hear that. That's cool. Good to hear that. Something. All right. Alpha Megas asks, can we get a petition for a Nox-style convertible hover car? Sure. Why not?
Sure, why not?
We need more Xi'an ships anyways,
Yeah.
Qpan asks, did you pick up a Spirit or a Grey Cat Steve? I did not. I picked up a Spirit, but for a giveaway. So
I'm going to be converting my Cutlass Black to Spirit C1.
C1?
Because I really like it. I like it more than my Cutlass Black, and I never thought I'd say that, but just did.
Vertigo?
I have avoided purchasing both. My fleet is pretty much well filled out, and I don't need anything like the Spirit currently.
I'm looking forward to the Grey Cat STV coming out for purchasing in game. I'll say that. That'll be a very good in-game purchase.
I already have a bunch of ground vehicles, and honestly, the Steve is pretty cool. I could cross-chassis upgrade something I already own into it, like the Argo, the free Argo I got. That everybody got the free Argo, right? That thing actually has cross-chassis value but it has a cross-chassis value. Where it's like $5 to get the Steve, $5 US.
Yeah.
I could have done it, and then I realized I already have a bunch of ground vehicles. I don't need the Steve. I'll just buy it in game when it gets released for credits, because it's going to be cheap.
All right. Harrison Jones asks, do you think Star Citizen will have conventional civilian cars for in-city use? So kind of like a sedan or anything like that. What do you think, Vertigo? Do you think we're going to see like a more regular cars for like city driving?
I don't know. Like, I think Star Citizen civilians use more public transit than anything.
Yeah.
We may see something like that in the background. I don't know if we'll be allowed to purchase something like that. Maybe we will. I think it's a good guess. I think it's a good idea or a good guess that Chris Roberts would put something like that in Star Citizen. Something designed to haul around like private civilians. Because we already have the Steve. And something for city, something like an Origin luxury vehicle.
Yeah. For lore, I'd say it's a little bit difficult to push that direction because there is so much more public transit being built for like colonies and ships outside of Star Citizen, or in like the distant areas of Star Citizen. You wouldn't be like civil planning in that time is very different than today because cars require import, and in an era when you can like effectively the cost of a car is the same as an Aurora, and you can fly an Aurora, which can get you anywhere on a planet within less than a couple of hours, versus down the street or across the planet or across the city. When especially when you have like public transport, there's no real reason for a car. So, I don't know. What do you think, Board? Do you think we'll get more conventional cars in game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be available, and there'll be reasons to use them when there's like environmental hazards or air defenses or whatever. Yeah. I think one of the things is accessibility of ships for players. Like, I think the idea is that NPCs and the vast portion of the population don't have access to ships, either because they never joined the military, or they don't know how to fly them, or they can't afford them, or for whatever reason. So I think there's reasons to have them in game for at least.
At least, yeah. If not player controlled, then having just NPCs driving them around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if NPCs are driving around, players are going to probably be able to access them. But all right, we're getting down. We've got about 6 questions left. Royale with Cheese asks, "Do you think Cargo Refactor will make it into 3.18?" Board, what do you think?
I think it's one of the major concerns that it might not. However, the 5 or 6 times that Cloud Imperium have been questioned on it, they've responded, "Look, it looks like it's going to be in there, and if it's not, we'll update you in the roadmap." And apparently, it's sort of connected with persistent entity streaming, so it looks like it will be. Might not be as part 3.18 initial, but maybe it will.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it was going to be about if it doesn't get pushed back, it'll probably be like 3.18.1 or 3.18.2 or something. Physicalized cargo.
I remember CIG said something to the effect of that it's required for salvage, and so if salvage makes it in, it's going to be in there. But it's important to remember as well that it's not really a new system. It's kind of like PES in the sense that it's just a back end change of how all cargo works in the game. And so we may see it implemented for salvage and not implemented for, say, like commodities and stuff like that. But that factor comes in later. But CIG seems to be pretty dedicated to it, because we also saw them do new concept sketches or like in-engine kind of block workups of what the cargo timers and all those sorts of things that we're working on, like a new mobile glass app for it. So there's definitely something that will, at least they're trying to put in 3.18. Do I think it'll be in there? Yeah, it'd be 3.18 if not 3.18.1. So, but it's hard to tell exactly when 3.18 will come into 3.18, since we don't know what exactly is going to be in 3.18 initial release. All right, Astro Chronicles asks, if you had had magic keyboard that fixes bugs by pressing F13, but you can only fix one bug, what would you fix? So if there's one bug you could fix in Star Citizen, what would you fix? Vertigo.
Ships blowing up when you're flying into the hangars. I had that hit me today again, too. I lost a huge amount of resources, a huge amount of components in my Caterpillar today. I was transferring from Lorville to Everest Harbor. Got a landing pad for my Caterpillar, started flying into the hangar, then suddenly, boom, dead Caterpillar. And I was just like, well, there goes all that stuff. So,
Bored?
I'm trying to think whether I can say whether 30Ks annoy me more or elevators annoy me more.
I will say this: how often do you get 30Ks versus how often do elevators break on you?
Elevators. I want elevators fixed.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I was gonna say I have experienced maybe 3 or 4 40Ks in the last 4 sessions I've played, but I experienced elevators breaking every single session at least twice. I would say falling through planets, not because I experience it a lot, but because it's the number one thing you'll hear people complain about is you fall through the planet when you land. If that was gone, I'd much rather people complain about 30Ks or elevators, because at least at that point it's like, well, those are something that's achievable, that CIG has fixed or worked on in the past, versus like falling through planets. CIG just does not care. We hear nothing about it. So if that was done, it would be so much less of a headache.
Sounds like we need some object permanence with planets, eh?
Yes, yes, there we go. That's that callback to the previous episode. If you don't get that joke, watch the previous episode.
Yeah.
Major 2501 asks, do you think CIG will move away from its current business model selling ships?
Oh, hell no. They've made $500 million selling ships. They will never stop selling ships. I think they'll break the original pledge where they said they wouldn't sell ships past release, because it just makes too much money. Why would you stop making money? Do you hate money?
Especially when you have a company of 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
I think they're going to evolve it so that there's potentially more things to buy, and they might change it a little bit. But yeah, I think, again, as Vertigo said, I think they're going to break the original pledge and continue to sell concept ships and straight to flyable ships after release as well, because it makes them so much money.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll evolve. I think I played a lot of MechWarrior Online, and they do similar things. They do very similar concepts where they'll release a new mech in concept, and only people who purchase it with real money will get that mech in concept when it first comes out, and then it'll be available for everybody else later. I think that's a system they already kind of have working. I think will be the system going forward. Is concept ships will be sold. I think they'll probably be more immediately released versus the distant time frame as CIG catches up with a lot of the ship pipeline.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely the case. And I also think CIG will try to technically the weasel word their way out of it by changing all ship purchases to packages.
We're not selling concept ships anymore. We're just selling straight flyable ships.
Yes, yeah. and you can buy a ship on the you can buy a ship anytime. It's like, oh yeah, but those aren't ships; those are packages now. So you can add additional gameplay packages. Yeah. So
there's gonna be like, you can add a hangar. There's gonna be like it's gonna be like a McDonald's Happy Meal or something. You're gonna buy a copy of Star Citizen, right? And then you can pick what ship you want to add to that. Right? Yeah. Do you want to start with this ship? Do you want to start with this ship? And it's like it'd be a package deal. And it's like, we're not selling concept ships anymore. We're selling packages.
We're not selling ships. We're selling experiences.
Oh God! Don't you start.
Street vendors have this a lot, because if you don't pay for like the taxes for street vendors, like a lot of artists I've talked to who sell art on the street, they'll be like, how much do you think this you can have this piece of art, but how much do you think it's worth? It's like, I'll pay $40. It's like, cool. Here's the piece of art that I didn't sell to you. I just gifted to you after you donated $40.
Yeah.
So as a kind of, I don't think it's even legal, but it's a workaround enough that you can't really
Well, we had that with like church church bake sales.
Yeah.
They don't take money because in order to like serve food, you have to have like food handler permits.
Yeah.
But if you ask for donations instead of selling stuff to people, you can get around that food handler regulation where you're required to have a food handler's permit. The food handler permit is like super easy to get. It's like a 4-hour class.
Yeah. But you need to have everyone certified and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then you have to have like the food people come down. Like the government has to send someone down to like make sure everything's like tidy and make sure you're preparing the food properly.
I would like to say that those are there to protect people. This comes from me being a head chef and running restaurants. Some people are really dumb with food prep, really dumb. They store like knives covered in meat in the fridge. Why is it there? Why is there a knife in the fridge? Why have you put it on the same shelf with the cooked food? What is going like? So I don't. Yeah.
So I had a
Board. When are we getting your Hell's Kitchen with BoredGamer Hell's Kitchen? In Star Citizen.
At some point, I might do some cooking streams in the future.
There we go. Recipes. I did not know you were a professional chef. That's an awesome thing to say. I used to work in restaurants, so I know that's also a thing. So
yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. But to expand upon that, I had an acquaintance who died from a potluck,
Yeah.
church potluck, because someone had improperly canned potatoes. They had made canned potatoes, and they had improperly done it, and a bunch of people got botulism poisoning.
Oh,
and one
God.
person that died had she had chemo. She was going through chemotherapy. She had cancer, so her immune system was already pretty compromised. But a lot of people got sick because improperly canned food.
Yeah. So handle your food better. Botulism and giardia, or giardia, is no joke.
Yeah.
Handle food better. All right. Gin and Tonic asks, earlier y'all picked off about a half dozen streamers and the different things they've chosen to focus on to create content. Doesn't the simple fact that we're able to do that speak volumes about what the game is already, and even more about what the game is going to be? Yeah, for sure.
That's fair.
Star Citizen is a big net game. There's a lot of people from a lot of different communities that come in. You'll see Tarkov people come in and play. You'll see role players come in and play. You'll see Warhammer or Warhammer War Thunder. You'll see people from Arma. It's a very big tent community. So
I think it's mostly going to appeal to like space dads, the milsim, LARPers, and the sweaty tryhards. The PvP crowd will try it for a little while.
Sweaty tryhards.
I wouldn't put it past role players, because role players will do everything. Look at Eve.
Well, I've already mentioned the role players. I told you about the milsim LARPers.
Well, I think there'll be different between milsim LARPers and like truckers. You know.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of people like Euro Truck Sim is going to be Star Citizen. I'm sure. I know people want to be like medical because they just want to
and
do that
victims.
kind of
We can't forget about the victims, Paul.
Oh, the victims.
The victims of PvP.
You mean content?
Yes, the content for the PvPers.
Yeah. So yeah, it does say a lot about it, especially even right now. It's to be fair. It can get stale. Content can get stale fairly fast. There's a lot of content in Star Citizen, and if you're just a new player coming into Star Citizen, there's a lot to chew through. But if you really want to churn through content in Star Citizen, you can get most of the content done in like a month. So.
Oh yeah.
Still a lot, but it's just hard to. It's not a lot of it's not repeatable as well. Like in a Destiny or a Vermintide or WoW, where you can actually get more stuff out of it. I think that's that would be the level of the accusation for changing it. Celine Star Dragon, this last question, asks, my question is, what is needed for explorations for exploring gameplay? Board, what do you think? What do you think we need for exploring gameplay?
They talked a bit about it with Chris Roberts at the end of CitizenCon, as I remember. So, star map updates, better scanning, the ability to do the blind quantum jumps, and then you're going to notice just more and more and more exploration gameplay slowly phased into the game until it's basically its own rounded sort of set of features. I think it comes in slow, drip fed rather than all at once.
Vertigo?
I mean, obviously, we need to have scanning. The ability to like actual find stuff worth discovering. Derelicts. They're working more on. We already have derelicts in the game, and we have quantum interdictions where they could drop you out on top of an item to like go through and find stuff. So we could already have a bit of exploration in the game. It just requires CIG to actually want to develop that branch. But actual exploration, you need scanning. We obviously need server meshing, persistent entity streaming. We need the quanta system that Tony Z was talking about, so we can have like those probability volumes, because that's what you're going to be scanning for. You're going to be scanning for those probability volumes, and then quantuming through them or through them. And then you arrive there and you scan again. There's like, oh, there's something over there. Then you're going to freeform quantum travel to like through that volume to like get closer to your point. And there's already a little bit of that there with like the that new reclaimer mission they added where you have to like scan for it. That's kind of like exploration a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically, exploration gameplay is gonna be like treasure hunting, really, where you're looking for like a procedurally generated thing that's gonna have like an event inside of it. Either like a puzzle event or a combat event. that you're gonna have to get access to, and then you're gonna go in there, you're gonna find a treasure chest, and that, Legend of Zelda, you're gonna find a thing in there, and you're gonna take it back like, oh, cool, it's a Hadeson artifact, or it's a Vandal artifact, or it's a Banu artifact.
And sometimes
you're gonna praise that.
Sometimes you'll go in there and you'll find instead of a treasure chest, you'll see pirates or some sort of weird alien creature try to kill you, that sort of thing. Yeah. I always like to say that the main thing that people should expect out of exploration gameplay, the bread and butter of exploration gameplay, is going to be scanning and mapping. And sometimes you'll find something interesting. Sometimes it's just you're scanning an area, you got that data, you take it back and you sell the data, or you give it to the people who wanted the data.
Yeah, I hope it's more than like what Elite Dangerous does. Like you fly around, you honk at stars and planets, and then you once you've done that for an entire month, you head back to like civilized space and you make 1 billion credits, because most boring exploration gameplay loop I could think of. Yeah. Unless EVE Online has something even more boring besides mining.
I do think that it will be fairly mundane, but I think every so often you'll have interesting things pop up. I think if CIG does it right, 1 out of every 6 or 7 missions you do will have something spicy that you discover, like an asteroid or a wreck or something like that. So,
well, they did said you'd be able to sell like the locations, the coordinates of like interesting stuff to like miners or salvagers or something. You're flying around your 315p, you find a wreck site, like an Idris or something, a Javelin or something, like, hey, this has some nice components in it. I could probably sell the location of this to somebody. That will be exploration gameplay as well. Like, you may not be able to take advantage of it yourself, but you could find some people who want to buy the location of that.
Yes, surveying is a big part of it. There's loads of stuff, isn't there, that's part of exploration. It's not just mapping of wormholes.
Yeah. It's not just going to be jump points. That's the thing I always try to get across to people, is that if you think that you're going to be there finding new jump points and brand new systems and finding interesting creatures and making love to beautiful alien women or men, you're barking up the wrong tree. Star Citizens at its core is going to be mapping and finding interesting stuff in already explored space. Sometimes you find
Tell me more about these beautiful alien women.
Yes, I would definitely like to explore their caves.
They don't exist. They are the triggerfish of Star Citizen. They are mythical.
He's saying I can't Captain Kirk my way through the universe and get some super herps?
No.
Or Riker your way through. He was also a bit of a horn dog.
I remember that episode where Riker that outfit they had him wear, it was just like, what the hell is that?
I know that episode you're talking about. But yeah, that's the last question. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, BoredGamer and HCVertigo for hanging out and talking Star Citizen for a couple hours. Make sure you check out BoredGamer UK on Twitch or YouTube and Twitch, I guess too, and HCVertigo on twitch.tv/HCVertigo. And if you watch this not live, if you're watching this recorded, come join us live on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already done so, we do this frequently. Make sure you hit the little bell icon to be notified the moment these drop. I've been dropping these the question and answer sessions and the discussion session at the same time or around the same time, so it's easier to just kind of go right on and watch all of them if you want to. And make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed the content, and comment down below. I do want to know your own questions and your own responses to some of these questions if you get a chance to. Do you think this is done live? Yes, it is done live, Blizz.
No, this is pre-recorded.
This is pre-recorded.
That is all pre-recorded.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.